Hello everyone. So myself Abdul Azim and I'm an AS developer at GeeksforGeeks. So we are here for session number 5 of our, you know, uh, learning guide for beginners to iOS development. And this is session number 5 of our series. And then let's start first. First of all, we will recap what we have done so far, what we have discussed, and then we will discuss what we'll be discussing in our upcoming sessions. Okay. So so far, first of all, in our session number 1, we have discussed about the introduction of iOS development, and then later on, we have discussed about about this how to set up your Xcode and some feasibilities and some features of Xcode. And then in session number 3, we have discussed about some basics of Swift, like variables, constants, operators, data types, etc. And in our last session, session number 4, we have discussed we have discussed about control flow statements in Swift, like if-else statements, switch, or loops, different type of loops like for in loops or while loop or do while loop, etc. And in this session, we will be discussing about optionals, functions, closures, and collection types in Swift, like any other language. And then after this session, in our upcoming sessions, we will be discussing about interface builder and storyboard. Interface builder and storyboards means how to create UI elements or how to create screens in an Xcode project for your iOS app or iPadOS app. And then, of course, we will be learning about UI elements in detail, like buttons, labels, text fields, text view, etc. And then we will be understanding view controllers, how screens works in an iOS app, or how navigation between different screens works in an iOS app. And of course, then after that, after view controllers and navigation between different view controllers, we'll be discussing about data persistence in your app, in our iOS app, like how to persist data in our app. Let's say if we want to save data in local storage, uh, right? Because there will be situations where user cannot have an internet, so we usually want to cache some data that we have retrieved from the server. Like if you don't have an internet and you open your Instagram feed, you will you will not, even if you're not having an internet, you'll not see an empty page or empty screen on your phone for Instagram. You will see some feed coming, some previous feed coming, that is cached data. So even if there is no internet, that they are showing you some data from the local storage. So how that's work, we will be learning about it, how you can save data in local for the scenarios like when you will not be having internet or slow internet. And to do that, we have to use some techniques. We have to use some, we have to learn how to do that, what technology we have to use to local in the saving in the local storage or retrieve data from the local storage. So yes, we have to learn about core data, RLM, and user defaults. So these are three ways which we use to uh, play with the data persistence, local persistence, or local storage, user defaults, core data, and RLM. And yes, then we will be learning about some bigger UI elements like table views and collection views to make the list and grids in our apps. And after that, we will be learning how to make HTTP calls, API calls to fetch some data from the server. How to fetch data from the server, because after all, you have to connect your app with the backend database, and to fetch some data or send some data to the server backends. You have to learn how to make connection or make network connection with the server, or how to make HTTP calls to fetch something, or how to HTTP calls to post something, to delete something, to put some data on the server. एंड ऑफ कोर्स उसके बाद हम ये सीखेंगे और इसके बारे में बात करेंगे कि कैसे हम जो डाटा हम सर्वर से फैच कर रहे हैं उसको हम कैसे पार्स कर सकते हैं अपने लोकल डाटा मॉडल में, सो दैट वी कैन यूज इट, बिकॉज हमारे पास जो डेटा आ रहा होता है सर्वर से वो जेसन फॉर्मेट में आ रहा होता है, बट यूजुअली वी कैन नॉट डील विद यूजर with JSON keys directly, or that is not a clean way to do it in your Swift code. So of course we want to pass it in our local models, and then we will be using properties from our local models. And don't worry, what is JSON and what will be our local models? What are these terms? So of course we will be discussing about uh, those terms or those things in the respective session. So, and in the last, we will be discussing how to prepare your app to send to App Store review and release. That is, that is also an important factor, because after preparing your app, after making an app or developing an app, you would want to you would want to send your app for the app review or to release on the App Store, because that is the concept, that is the final conclusion that we want. कि अगर हमने सीखा है कि iOS, हम एक iOS ऐप या iPadOS ऐप बना रहे हैं, और किस लिए बना रहे हैं, फाइनली हमें ऐप बनाने के बाद ऐप स्टोर पर उस ऐप को रिलीज करना पड़ेगा, सो दैट यूजर्स कैन डाउनलोड इट on their mobile devices, so that they can use it. So of course, learning all the basics of the iOS development, or learning how to create some basic apps in iOS. So we will be learning how to prepare your app to for the App Store review, or how to release your app to the App Store. And to do that, we will be using App Store Connect. App Store Connect usually a tool, and a tool from provided by Apple itself. They have a website and they have an app as well that you can use to upload your build. First, you have to have a valid Apple developer account to use App Store Connect to upload your build, or to build your app on the physical devices. And because if you want to send your app to app review or release, you have to upload your build to the App Store Connect. And to do that, first you have a valid Apple developer account, a valid Apple developer membership. Okay. So then let's move on to our today's session. So first, let's see what we'll be learning, or what we'll be talking about in this session. So first of all, we will talk about collection types. What are different collections in Swift, like array, set, dictionary. And then we'll be talking about optionals. What are optionals? What is force unwrapping? What is coalescing operator? What is optional chaining? What is optional binding, and all that. And then we'll be discussing about functions. Functions define कैसे करने हैं, call कैसे करने हैं, like any other language. And what are different, how to pass parameters, or what is return type, and how to pass more than one parameter or argument in your function, and how to return more than one value from a function, and what is argument label, what is argument name, how to what is omitting, uh, how to omit argument labels, or how to pass default parameter values, or what are in-out parameters. All that we will be covering in this session. And then we will be, of course, in this session, in the last of this session, we will be discussing closures as well. What are closures, what are escaping closures, what are non-escaping closures. Okay, so let me share my screen, and before we start coding, or before we start discussing those terms in details, those things in details. Okay, so first let's talk about collections in Swift. So there are three types of collections: Swift, array, set, and dictionary. And before going forward, I will draw your attention to a course free course provided by GFG. Let me share a link here. This is a free course provided by GFG for the iOS development for beginners. So you can register to this course for free to learn. In parallel to this series, this YouTube series, you can also subscribe or register to this course so that you can have some content in you know in read form, in write form as well, to have some free articles to learn from there. Okay, now let's move on to our session. Okay, so there are basically three types of collections in Swift: array, set, and dictionary. So basically arrays, like any other language, are ordered collection of values. These are ordered collection of values like integers, Swift, integers, strings, doubles, etc. These are ordered collection. So how to create an array in Swift? Basically, let's say I want an array of integers, array of integers, and let's say I will declare it data type explicitly, array of int. So if I do that, let's say this is an empty array. You can also do it like this. This is an empty array. So there are three ways to declare an array, to create an array. First, empty. Second is default. First, you can create an empty array. Second, you can create an array with some default values. And third, you can create an array with literals. So let's say this is this is way one to create an array. This is an array of integers with no value. Okay, this is an empty array. Now, if I want to declare an array with some default values, let's say I want to declare an array of length 3, length equals to 3, and values, let's say 0. Example, let's say I want this 0, 0, 0. An array of length 3 with having values all equals to 0. So how would we do that? So actually what we will do, let's say let array with default values, let's say this is an array of integers, so it would be like int repeating let's say 0, and count will be 3. Now if I print this array, let's say print array with default values, array with now if I print this, see, an array of length 3 with all values equals to 0. So this is how you create an array with some default values. Now let's say if I want to create an array with string, with some literals, let's say, or with some given values. So creating an array with literals. Creating an array with array literals. So it would be like let array with literals equals to, let's say, with some values, let's say 1, 2, 3, let's say 4, let's say 5. So this is how you create an array with given array literals. So if I print this, print array with literals, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so these are the ways of creating an array. This is how you can create a default array. So now moving on, now we come to the point how we access or modify an array. So let's say array, as we have discussed, or I have said that arrays are ordered collection of some values of integers of strings. So that means their positions are fixed. Like here, 1 is coming on the first position, 2 is coming on the second position, 3 is coming on the third position, 4 is coming on the fourth position. So if I access, let's say, array with, let's say if I want to access third element of an array, so this is index number 0, 1, this is index number 1, and this is index number actually 2. This is how index of arrays works, starting with 0. Okay, so let's say if I want to access index number 2, so it will give me 3, because 3 is the number coming at index number 2, 0, 1, 2. So 3 is the number. That is how you can access an element from an array by using indexing. Okay, let's say how to modify an array. What can be different ways to modify an array. First, modify an array. Let's say if I want to modify a value, let's say I want to modify a value that is on index number 2. So let's say array with literals and index number 2, and I would say this is 10. And now if I print it now, print array with literals, and I will also print second index of this, 2. And now if I print it, you will see 1, 2, 10, 4, 5. Previously 3 was coming on index number 3, index number 2. Now 10 is coming. So, and we have also printed index number 2, so 10 is printing. So that is how you can modify a single value of an array by using indexing. Now let's say I want to append some new values, add some new values to my array. So let's create a new array first. Let's say var array equals to, let's say, array of names, let's say Jack, Adam, Tom, let's say these are this is an array of strings, array of names, and what I want to do, I want to add some new names to this list, this array. So how would we do that? Array dot, there is an append function in the array. By using this function, you can add new elements to your to your array. So let's say array dot append. Let's say I want to add a new name called Olive. Yeah, Oliver. And now if I print, first print array before modifying it, let's say before modifying, and it is array. And now after modifying, this is array. And now if I print this, so you'll see before modifying, this is Jack, Adam, Tom, and after modifying, this is Jack, Adam, Tom, and Oliver. So this is how you can add or append new values to your array. Now let's say I want to append an array to another, or I want to add not just one but more than one values, or uh, append the whole list to my array, to my previous list. Let's say first remove it. Let's say I have new names, and it is, let's say, Bob, let's say Becky, and let's say Abraham. And now what I want to append this list to my previous array. So let's say array will use here assignment operator, the compound assignment operator actually, and we'll put here new names. So what it will do, it will append the array new names to our previous array. Okay, now if we print our array, appended list of names, you will see array. You will see the whole appended list. Jack, Adam, Tom. This was the previous value of an array. Then we append Oliver to it. Oliver is here. And then we appended new names, 3 new names, Bob, Becky, and Abraham to it. And you will see all these, all these elements are coming in order, the order in which we have entered, we have inserted the values. Okay, this is that's why we call arrays an ordered collection of values. Okay. Now how we iterate over, or how we iterate through the elements of an array. So let's say first remove it. Now we have an array which is having 7 elements, and I want to, let's say I want to iterate over each and every element. So one way is to use for in loops that we have discussed in our previous session. For name in array, and let's say print name, and you will see all names will be printed one by one: Jack, Adam, Tom, Oliver, Bob, Becky, Abraham. This is how you can iterate over elements of an array. Another one is to use index, for index in array dot indices. So this will not return you the element of an array, rather this will return you indexes of each element. So indexes of position, you can say. So element index number, element at 0 index, let's say in index number 0, 1, 2, 3 would be array at index, the given index. And if I print it now, you will see element at 0 index Jack, element at 1 index Adam, element at 2nd index Tom, element at 3rd index Oliver, element at 4th index Bob, element at 5 index Becky, and 6 it is Abraham. So this is how you can iterate through an array. Now let's move to our second collection type, that is set. Set basically an unordered collection of unique values. Unordered collection of unique values. There cannot be duplicate in there can be duplicate in arrays, but there cannot be duplicate in set. So these are sets are unordered collection, and they always contain some unique values. They will not have any, they will not be having any, any duplicate values. So unordered collection of unique values. So first, how to create a set. So you can create a set just like an array. Let me show you. Let's say first comment it. So you can create an array, empty array like var or let let's say numbers or unique numbers equals to set type of integers and empty. This is how you can create an empty set, or you can put some values into it, or let's say we can also create set using literals, array literals. Let's say unique numbers set1 let unique numbers to set, and this will be, let's say 1 3 5 2 7. So now if I print unique numbers 2, you'll see 3 5 7 2 1. So you see the order here is 1 3 5 2 7, but the order we are getting in our output is 3 5 7 2 1. And it doesn't matter how many how many times I run it, every time I will not guarantee any order. I will get a different order. Maybe every time I will get a different order, or maybe same, but there is no guarantee of any order. So if I run it again, you will see now this is different, 5 3 1 2 7. Let's print it more than one time. Print unique numbers 2. Again, print unique numbers 2. So see, we are printing the same value, but if I run it, you will see every time. Okay, let me, let's print it again. Here it is giving 5 3 1 2 7. And now we will be getting 7 2 1 3 5. So there is no guarantee of any order if if we are dealing with sets. So this is how that's why sets are called unordered collection of unique values. Now we have seen the unordered collection. Let's see about the unique values. Let's say if I put one more value, let's say 2, and 2 is already there in our set. So if I print this now, what will happen? You see, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 values, but in output we are getting 1 2 3 4 5 values only, because when we have declared our set, we are duplicating 2. In index number 3 there is a value equals to 2, and then at index number 5 there is another value that is equal to 2. But by the definition of sets are the unordered collection of unique values. There cannot be duplicate values in sets, so they remove every time execute some set or you declare a set, they remove duplicate values. That's why it is removing the last 2, and it is printing this set without this collection, without duplicating the value equals to 2. So you see, these are unordered. Every time I'm printing it, I'm getting a different order, and doesn't matter how many values I'm repeating, it will return me the unique set of values. Let's put 3 many times. So if I print this, you will see there is only one, there is 3% only once, not more than one time. So every value will be will be occurring only once. Doesn't matter which array you have given to the set, or how many values are repeating or duplicating. The return value of a set or a set will always be an unordered collection of unique values. It will remove the duplicate values. Okay, so this is how set works. And to insert some values into set, we have a method like array is having append. We have a method insert here in sets, so we can insert any value. Like, let's say if I want to insert 10 here, and now if I print our set, okay, I have done something wrong. Okay, so this is a let's make it fair, because let is a you cannot mutate a let property, because let are constants in Swift. So you'll see 7, 2, 1, 3, 10, 5, 6, and there is no guarantee at which position 10 will occur when you will be printing this. Just print it again and see, now 10 is before. See now 10 is at the last. So there is no guarantee of the position or the order of the values. So this is how you can insert new values in a set. And now how to iterate through a set. The iteration will be same. You can use for in loop, like for value in unique values or unique numbers 2, and now print value, and see, and here is also not any guarantee of the order. So every time you will print it, you will get a different order every time. Every time we are printing it, we are getting a different order. This is how set works in Swift. Now let's move to our next collection type, that is dictionaries. Dictionaries are also an ordered collection of data, and these are unordered collection of not some single values. These are unordered collection of key value pairs. To deal with key value pairs, we use dictionaries in Swift. Okay, so first, how to declare an empty dictionary. So let's say let empty dictionary first. We will define the type explicitly, and that will be let's say I want to create a dictionary of key type string and value type some numbers, integers. So this is how you can create an empty dictionary. Okay, this dictionary is not containing any key value pair. And now let's say if I want to create or declare a dictionary with some dictionary literals, with some given values, with some like we have created arrays and sets with some given literals. So let's say let's say my dictionary is string to integers, and let's say key name, and by putting a colon you can give the value of that key name. Let's say Jack, let's say ID, let's say 1, and school, let's say random school. Okay, so this is how you can create a dictionary with some given key value pair or key value literals. So if I print this, it is returning some, sorry, sorry. Let's create this string to string. Jack, because key and values are both strings, we have taken this example. So now if I print this dictionary, print my dictionary, and you will see name, Jack, school, random school, and ID 1. Here is also, I will draw your attention to the order of the dictionary. There is no guarantee of order here also. Like we have put ID on the second number, but this is giving school on the second number and ID on the last. So let's say if I print it again, you see now ID is on the first number, school second, and name is at the last. So this is unordered collection of key value pairs. So now how to access or iterate over a dictionary. So to access a dictionary, like in array, you can access a value by passing some index. If you want to access a single value, you can access it through index. Similarly here, you can access a value by by using key. Let's say print my dictionary name, so you will see it is returning Jack. It is returning name because we are accessing it through the key name, and it is returning an optional because you can pass any key and that key might not present in our dictionary. Let's say I pass address, so it is it is considering that you can pass any key and that key might not present in our dictionary. So that's why it is optional, because a wrong key, the value respective to a wrong key can be null. Okay, because that key might not present in the dictionary, that's why value can be null. So if I print my dictionary address, if I pass address key is not present in my dictionary, so if I print it, it will it will give me a nil value. Okay, that's why it is optional. Now how to iterate through a dictionary. So you can iterate through dictionary using a foreign loop. Let's say key and value in my dictionary. So in the first value here, key, it will give you the keys of the dictionary, and in the value it will give you the, let's say, key val. It will give the values. In the val, it will give you the values. So print let's say value for key and key name that is coming in the key will be equals to val. Okay. So now if I print it, you will see value for key ID equals to 1, value for key name equals to Jack, value for key school equals to random school, and it will not be in an order. Okay, it will not be in an order. It will always in an unordered iteration. School is coming at the first. Now if I run it again, you will see ID is coming at the first. So it will always an unordered collection. Okay, so that's it for the collection. Now let's move on to optional. What are optional? Like we have already discussed optionals in our previous sessions. Optionals are, in Swift, optionals are values which can be null or which can have some values, right? Let's say if I declare some value, let's say my number int, and if I declare it with a question mark ahead of your explicit data type, so it will tell me my number, the value in the my number uh, can be a valid value or it can be nil, means it can have a value or it cannot have a value. So if I print it, let's say print my number, I didn't assign it any value yet. Okay, so if I print it, you will see it is giving a nil because हमने अभी तक इसको कोई value assign नहीं करी है, तो it will return nil. Let's say if I assign it 3, and now if I print it, it will return optional 3 because I declared it optional, and it is giving me value 3, but still it is optional because I declared it optional. And there are two ways to declare an optional. One way is this, another way is var my number 2 int with exclamation mark. So there are two ways to to declare your optional, but what is the difference between these two? The first one with the question mark is telling, hey, this can have a value or this can be nil, this is an optional. But the second one is telling this is an optional, this might have an value or not, but I am guessing that it will always have an value. It is an option, but when I am accessing it, it will always have an value. So we call it force unwrapping. That's we know it is an optional, but we also know that it is having a value. That's why we are using force unwrapping. कि we are telling कि हमें पता है ऑप्शनल है, बट इसके अंदर वैल्यू आ रही होगी, इसलिए हम फोर्स अनरैपिंग का यूज करते हैं. इसको हम कहते हैं फोर्स अनरैपिंग. Okay, so let's say if I'm accessing my number, let's say my number equals to 3 and I'm printing it, so it will print optional 3. But let's say if I'm force unwrapping it, so what it will do, it will print only 3, not with optional and parenthesis, because I have force unwrapped it, because I'm saying, hey, I know my number is containing an value, so I'm force unwrapping it. So that's why it is not telling now it is okay, you have an optional value equals to 3, because now we have force unwrapped it. Okay, we know this this is having a value equals to 3. Now if I remove it 3 and I force unwrap it and run it, see, it will cause an error, unexpected found nil while unwrapping an option value, because we are force unwrapping it without having a value. So it will cause an error. Now, what is coalescing operator? Coalescing operator is, let's say, you have an optional value, but you are using it, but what you want to do, if there is an option, you want to use a default value. So to use default value, we use double question mark. This is called coalescing operator, and we pass it, let's say 0. So if my number equals to 3 and I print it, so it will print optional 3. Okay, it will print 3 because I have provided it default value. So what it will do, if my number is containing some value, it will print my number. But if it is not containing any value, instead of nil, it will print 0 or whatever default value I have provided it. So if I remove 3 from here and I print it, you will see it will print 0. See, 0, because I have provided a default value to it. I'm saying, hey, if you are having a value, use it, give it to me. Or if you don't have any value, so just use this default value. So I have provided 0 as default value. Okay, now what is optional chaining and optional binding actually? So let's say I want to make sure before using a optional value, I want to make sure if this is containing a value. Let's say I want to do some operation on an optional value after after performing a check that this is an optional value, but it is not nil. It is having a some valid value. So let's say if let number equals to my number. So now it is making sure it will only execute statement. It will only execute this statement only when this my number is containing some value. It will extract that value from my number to this new property number, and then we will use it here. Print, number. So now it will print the number equals to, let's say, 3, but it will not print it as an optional. See, 3. So let's say if I remove 3 here and I keep it nil, so it will not fall into this. And if I use a else block, so what it will do, it will simply, print containing nil value. Containing nil value. So if I print this, you will see it will print containing nil value because it is not falling into this block, because we are using optional binding and we are not getting any value, because optional binding means we are making sure it is having a value, and if it is having a value, only then we execute this statement, but it is not having a value. That's why it is not falling into this block. It is only it is getting out of it, and it is not getting any value, so it is executing else block. Okay, so this is how optional binding works. Now optional chaining. What is optional chaining actually? Optional chaining is you are accessing some optional value from an optional object. Let's say I have an object. Let's create a structure. Let's say struct let's say person, and let's say this is having a property name string, and let's say this is having a another property id int. And now I create a person object, person. Let's say I say it type of person and I declare it optional type. Now let's pass it person name equals to person1 and id, let's say 1. And now if I want to access its name, what I have to do, I have to do something like this. Let's say print person dot name. See, and if I print it, see, it is printing an optional value person1. Means name is a optional value, and before accessing it, it is putting a question mark here. It is telling that person object is also an optional. So to access some optional value from an optional object, optional property from an optional object, we have to put a question mark before accessing that property. So that's what we call optional chaining. Okay, so considering the time, let's move on to functions. So how we define functions in Swift, or how we pass parameters in functions. Let's say, so this is the format. We put a keyword func before naming your function, and then name function, let's say my function. And this is how you define a function. So, and you can pass some parameters and return type as well. Let's say param1 parameters and return type. Let's just, so param1, let's say this is a string type, and let's say I'm returning a string, and let's say print this is parameter. So if I call this function my function, or I print, no, let's return this string, return this is parameter and parameter value. And now my function, and let's pass the parameter, let's say this is a string type, so let's pass param value. And if I print it now, first let's comment it. So I print it, you will see, okay, sorry, comment it. So see, this is parameter param value. So this is what we are doing here. We are creating a function using func keyword, and the function name is my function. Then we are passing a parameter param name, and then we are returning an string from the function. And this is return type. This is how we declare return type. This is the above function here. It is not containing any argument, any parameter, and it is not returning anything. But here in this function, it is, getting a parameter, it is accepting a parameter param1, and it is returning a string type. Now we will declare function with multiple parameters. Oh, sorry, with multiple return types. So let's say my function, let's say param1 and param2. This is also a string. And let's say I want to return more than one value. So as we have discussed in our previous sessions, we have discussed about tuples. Where we have, we can use tuples. So this is where we can use tuples to pass multiple values from a function. So let's say I want to, return two values, one of type string and another one of type integer. So now return let's say first return is a string. These are parameters, and parameters is param1 and param2. And this is first return value, a string, and another one is an integer. Let's say I am returning count here, count of parameters here. So there are two parameters. So now if I print my function param1 value 1 and param2 value 2. So now print it, and you will see these are parameters value 1 and value, and it is returning 2 because we are returning 2 from here in the second value. So this function is returning basically two values. One is string, one is integer. So this is how we can do this. We can return more than one values. Now next point is argument labels and argument name. What is argument labels and argument name basically? So let's say we have function param1. So if I use this function, I call this function, I have to call it like this: my function param. This is this is telling me about the parameter name. But let's say what I want to do, I want to put my parameter name and label level are two different values. So let's say I want to put an argument label here. Let's say param label param string. So now if I if I call this function here, so you see now it is showing, instead of param, it is showing param label, because I told it the label of this parameter is param label. So when you call it, it will show you param label instead of parameter name, and parameter name is param. So inside the function you will use param, and outside of the function when you will be calling it, you will be using parameter label, that is this. So you can pass any value here that you want to pass. So this is how argument labels and argument names are two different things and works in in Swift. Now another case here comes. Let's say if I don't want a parameter name and parameter label at all in my function calling. Let's say I want to call a function simply just like this, just like putting some value. I have a function which is accepting a string as an argument, only one argument, and I just want to pass it like this, any value. Let's say parameter value without any argument name or any argument label. So how we do this? We actually do this, instead of argument label, we pass it like an empty empty underscore. So now if you call this function, it will not ask you to specify any parameter name or parameter label before calling it or while you're calling it. So this is how you can omit argument labels. So you can also pass some default values to your parameter. Let's say if I pass here parameter value. See, I have passed a default value. So when you will be calling it, you are not, this is not necessary that you pass a argument from outside. If you want to pass an argument from the outside, you can, but this is not necessary anymore if you are giving a, if you are providing it a default value. So in this function calling, I can remove it and it will still run the same. It will still run with this default value, parameter value. This is how you can pass some default values to your function. Now moving on, what are in-out parameters? In-out parameters are like if you are passing some parameters to your function and you want to change it inside the function. Let's say I have function, let's say func change value, and let's say value that is of type integer. So let's say this is the value, and what I want to do, I want to change this value to some other value. Let's say value, I'll be passing this a value from the outside, and then I want to change it like value equals to value into 2. I want to double it and then print it. Or let's say, okay. let's say I have a value here, var value of type int, let's say इसकी value है हमारे पास 2, and what I want to do now, print value, and now I want to pass it to this function which is doubling this value. Let's say change value, that is value, इसका हम नाम कर देते हैं value parameter, that is value param. See what I'm doing here, I have created a value which is equals to 2 integer type, and then I'm calling my function change value, and then I am passing this value to inside of this function, and then inside the function I'm doubling this value. So if I print this value here and print it, value, sorry, my bad, value param, see, so what we are doing, we are getting a value in the parameter of function, and then we are changing that parameter inside the function. So it is throwing an error saying cannot assign to value parameter let constant, because the arguments of an function are always let constant. You cannot change them. So in this scenario that I have written here, I have declared a value, and what I want to do, I want to pass it into the function to double it. So how how will I be doing it? So this is where in out parameters come into play. What you can do, you can simply just put it like in give me a minute. So if I put an in out keyword before the data type and pass the value by using its reference instead of value, so now if I print this value, you will see it will double it. See, this is returning 4, because now what it is doing, it is passing this value into the function, and it is taking the reference of this value and now changing it or doubling it, and now you are seeing the reflection or changes directly into the original value, because now it is changing the reference, not the value. Now it is changing the value present at that reference, at that address. So that is why that is where in our parameters come into play. So now let's move on to closures. What are closures? Closures are basically self-contained blocks of code or functionalities that can be passed from one function to another or from one block to another. So for example, you have seen map, sorted, filter function, or so let's say if I have an array, let array 1 equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to what I want to do, I want to return an array. I want to return an array which is containing square of all these elements. Like let's say let squares equals to array dot map. So what is map? Actually, map is a function of that works on collections, arrays, and dictionaries, which will take each and every value, and then you can perform some operation on this value, and it will return a full-fledged array, new array that will be that you will be building by performing those operations. Like if I do this array 1, sorry, my bad, array 1 dot map. So see, integer, let's say value in, and what I will do, let's say return value into value. So what it is doing, it is taking a value one by one from the array, and it is, multiplying it with the same, that is, that means it is squaring. We are taking square of the value and it is returning it, and it is making a new array. So if I print squares, so now if you print it, you will see that will print the array that will be containing the square of the previous array elements of the previous array. So 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25 squares of the values containing uh, contained in this array. So what I have written this, why I have written this, actually, the map function here is using a closure. This the code between this block, this curly braces, this is a closure. This is how a closure works. This is a self-contained block that we are passing to this map function. And what this map function is doing inside, it is taking values one by one and executing this block for each and every value. This is that is how closure looks. Now let's make our own closure. Let's say I have a function func closure implementation, and I will be doing some value. I'll be doing some operation inside this function. But what I want to do after doing some operation, let's say statement 1, let's say statement 2, let's say statement 3. So let's say I have done some operations inside this function, but I have some block of code that I want to run from inside of this function. So let's say completion void. So what I'm passing into this function as an argument, I'm passing a closure, I'm passing a completion handler, a function basically, which will be having 0 argument, and a void return type will be null, that is a void. So now if I completion, now I can call it here. So now if I call this method closure implementation, you will see, like the map function, now it is having, let's give it a some argument int type, and we pass it here, let's say 5. So see, like the map function, now we have the same block, like that we were seeing into the map function. Now we are having the same block, kind of same block, like let's say value. So now if I print this, print value in the closure, value in the closure, put it well, that is well, and you will see 5 here. First let's comment it. See, value in the closure is 5. So this is how, what we have done here, we have passed, this is our block of code that we are calling closure, where we are passing a value and we are printing it, and we are passing this whole block into the function closure implementation, and then this closure implementation calling this block of code completion 5. You can name it anything, completion handler, closure, or whatever. So this is how closure works. We have made kind of same closure that we have seen into the map function. So we will be we will be dealing a lot with closures, and when we'll be writing some application code, and we'll be discussing it in detail when we escaping closure, what are non-escaping closures, when we'll be dealing with HTTP request, with alarm of fire, with session handlers and all. So I guess this is it for today. If you have any question, so I'm here for next 1 2 minutes, so you can write it into the comment box. So we will answer this. So okay, bye for now. We will meet into the next session. Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you very much.